I've got another one for you. This is the amazing CRG5 from Samsung. This is, yes, you see the box correctly. This is a 240 Hz gaming monitor. This is 27 inches packed full of gaming goodness by Samsung. And yes, I have another monitor review for you guys today. So we're gonna be pulling this guy out. We're gonna be checking every single one of those 240 Hertz, and we'll unbox it, we'll pull it out, and then I even have a nice little surprise for you guys that I'll get into in just a bit. So we're gonna take this thing. What are we doing? Get this monitor out of here. We don't need it. I'm gonna put this over here because I wanna do the unboxing right here so you guys can see all the goodness. What is that? What is that? What is that? Let's freaking cut this sucker open. Let's cut the dang thing open. I'm just too excited. Bam! What do we got here? Okay, got this. Done. Love it. Check that out. We give you a nice little pin here that just comes with a hand screw. You don't even need a screwdriver. They give you display port. Thank you, Samsung. Thank you. It's a pretty beefy brick here. 240 Hertz though is a fairly high rate, so let's take a step back. I'm not even gonna let you see it. And ladies and gentlemen, there's the screen. So I always like to show off the I/O. And you guys can see down there fairly well. Got two HDMI, a display port, a USB, and our power. And then I do want to bring up the stand. The stand itself is fairly, it's cheap, it's plastic, it's, nothing fancy. It is sturdy. It's only rocking because I have it on an unlevel surface, but here's the thing, that's fairly cheap, and I don't know, maybe I'd use it more so, but it does have the VESA mount ability on the back here, so if you have a mount, I feel like that would be a bit more control and you'd probably like it. And we can go over some of the details, but one thing I liked about the previous Samsung monitor that I had was down here on the bottom there was a joystick, or on the back, and I don't know, okay, yep, you do, you get your joystick right in the middle here, and it's actually a bit more comfortable than the last one. So I am more excited to show you guys the 240 Hertz response rate. I've got everything pulled out here, and let's get into it. I'm gonna fire it up, show you some pictures, and the little secret that I have for you guys today is we are gonna be comparing this to a Predator monitor. I'll get you those details in just a second here on which monitor, but it's the 240 Hertz 1080p panel, which is exactly what this Samsung is, and they have a lot of the similar features. So I bet you that tons of you guys are deciding which one do I get. We're gonna find out today. So without further ado, okay, so as promised, I did get a second monitor. It's not my monitor. It's actually Richard, who I have here with me today. It's his monitor. I'll bleep your name out if you want me to online. I won't tell you where he lives. But we have his Predator monitor. It's the XB2. The Samsung is a VA panel and the Predator is a TN panel. So the main difference between the two is that the Predator has a 1 millisecond response time, where the Samsung has a 4 millisecond response time. What we're really trying to test is how that 240 Hertz looks on 1080p and how well it actually games. Like, do any of them wash out colors around the edges? Do they hold their picture? Is there screen tear? Do you notice a massive difference? So another big difference would be the 3000:1 contrast ratio on the Samsung, whereas the Acer has 1000:1, but they're both 27 inches. The Samsung is slightly curved, but the Predator is a flat panel. So let's pull it out of the box, set them up side by side, and we'll just take a quick look and see how they look. This looks very similar to the 27-inch that I had, the space monitor, the 1440p. The power and the fan on the back is actually a little bit bigger. There's probably a speaker on here too.
Yeah, it's not the greatest speaker. It's only 2 watts.
Yeah, so that was, first things first, when you look at these two, you'll notice a couple of things. This is a bit brighter, and I don't know, there probably hasn't been a huge amount done to the factory settings. This is a bit darker. They both have really good viewing angles. Like, come over to the side and take a look. You lose a little bit over here on the Samsung because of the curve, a little more so than you do on the Predator because of that curve. Yeah, wow. You could see that major difference. Okay, so we're gonna get some games set up. We're gonna play around. We're gonna try to do some 240 Hertz on both monitors and see what we can do. We're gonna extend the display so you're seeing exactly the same exact picture on each display. We're gonna pop it up to 240 Hertz and check it out. So we set both of these up to be like the first person shooter action style gaming mode.
The purples pop out way more.
They're deeper. Yeah, you can get a really good idea. On the left, we have the Predator, and of course on the right, we have the Samsung. It definitely looks like the left-hand side is not working as hard. There is a bit more, there's like a deepness to the color. It looks much closer, but it's not able to dim. I think it's that 3000:1 contrast ratio. It's a brighter backlight, which this is the closest I can get to where your monitor is. DX12 or an Ultra, oh my, I've not gone up to badass.
Do it.
Seriously?
Yeah.
I don't know. This might be like 2080 Ti territory. So yeah, we really put these to the test here in the gaming settings, and honestly, they both performed pretty similarly. I'll leave this one up to you. You watch the video, you decide. We did notice it was a bit smoother on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, the picture quality actually remained better throughout the video play, the gameplay. You make your decision. Which one do you think has the best overall experience at 240 Hertz? Right off the bat, I do notice a little more tearing over here. I'm wondering if that's because this is handling all of the workload and then it's just copying this display to there. Yeah, what's interesting is the flat panel, well, it seems a bit more clear and like not clear as in like picture quality. It is a bit less straining on the eyes. That being said, this is a pretty intense game with colors and action. From back here, you couldn't tell the difference. I feel like both of these are panels that you would want to actually be sitting further away from. So there's still kind of a lot to go over. We got some slow motion footage. We do want to test a few things more than just gaming, like Photoshop, so on and so forth, but I'm going to do that on this guy. I will say the 240 Hertz over here, we're getting 100 frames per second right now in game, and depending on where you're sitting, you can really notice the, I don't know if it's motion blur or if it's, yeah, some form of jitter on the Samsung monitor. So they both have really good in-game menus or on-monitor menus. I did notice there are the presets over on the Predator are actually a little bit better as far as like functionality goes, but there was a little more I could tune over here on the Samsung. So what I'm hoping is that I can get it closer to what we see on the Predator just by tweaking it a little bit. Maybe you will at home too. Maybe that's what you want to do, is spend a little bit of time in setting it up the way you want. 5K. Oh.
Now, one thing I'm going to say is in this video, the reason why I freaked out when I picked up the monitor and did the 4K test, watch the purples, watch the blues, and watch the blacks.
But I do see the depth on the right-hand side. Although the colors do pop, I see a bit more depth on the right-hand side. Like when I look into that color, I can see a little more popping out at me. I think it's specifically the blacks. When you look in, yeah, this one pops more in color.
Yeah.
You get that color pop.
Like on the left-hand side, and then if you look on this one here specifically, if you look at the fog itself, it's more natural on the left hand compared to the right. But if you look at the sky, it's natural on the right-hand side.
Yeah, like that cloud test.
Yep.
You could see it.
And then through the light here, when it goes across looking at it as purple and then going into black, you see more of the natural tones on the left.
But I see the sky's not as washed out on that previous one on the right. It was actually had a very good solid gold. Yeah, this is a great test. A lot of really good detail between the two. And the really main difference, hopefully everybody sees this, is you have a shade of blue going in. And then here you have a really nice pop of blue in definition. I want to stop this because they're both in the exact same point. Which one has more stars? Find that big dot right here.
Now look at the difference in this area around the dot.
What's interesting is in the darker area up here,
Yeah.
I almost see more over here. Yeah. Whereas this, because the color's popping out at you, you get more of the detail in the brighter areas.
You see more of like the blue.
Look at the middle of the sun, and that flare is smaller on the right for some reason. And you can see the aura around it right here in layers. And is that intentional? Is that a detail being picked up here?
Or is it being over-processed?
Or is it being over? Because you can see it here, it's just a lot lighter.
Yeah, that's why I was just like, I see more of the flare effect on the other left-hand side then.
So we took some 4K video from YouTube and scaled it to 5K streaming. And what we noticed on the left-hand side with the Predator is it tends to over-process some of the content and washes it out. However, the color is a lot more vibrant because of that. And then you go to the Samsung and it doesn't wash out bright colors like the whites. The previous frame we watched, the highlight in the sun was very manageable and didn't wash out the texture detail. So that's a plus in my opinion for the Samsung, but I will give a plus to the Acer because it has a more vibrant factory setting. We can get closer to that with Samsung, but we do have to do some tweaking to get there. And for many of you out there, that may not be a plus.
Yeah, you can see the skin tone here. It looks more like my actual skin tone. Here, it's a bit more white.
And then plus it would have to be done in post-process where it might look like it's overdone in post-process.
Yeah.
Compared to this one where it's not even processed at all.
I get a lot of the highlights, which allow me in this editing The way I would see this is to tone those highlights down a bit. They both are picking up the details though on the shirt, and I've had monitors that can't. I've had cameras that can't on this particular shirt. It'll just wash them all out as one blue. So it is good. You're definitely getting a brighter color on this, or just a brighter panel from the Samsung.
So look at the fog.
That can be good in some scenarios. However, the factory settings on the Predator are a more well-rounded use. You've got an AV panel, or sorry, a VA panel and a TN panel. And what our conclusion is if you have this Predator, this monitor here, the 240 Hertz monitor, and you're gaming, that's perfect. If you're consuming content, watching video, doing all of that, that's perfect. It's gonna be a great monitor for you. Where you may want to keep an eye out is with the Predator, it's going to trick you if you're any type of content creator, editor, whether it's for work or for fun, because it's going to optimize your image for you without you even touching it. And even if we put these back to base settings, it looks a lot more natural, and the colors come out deeper. Where if you go over here to the Samsung, this is probably closer to what the video actually looks like. And especially if 90% of the people who are watching this are using a standard 1080p, 60 frames per second, 1000 to 1 contrast ratio monitor, or 60 Hertz, sorry, I should say, this is probably more along the lines of what they're going to see. The contrast ratio and the color gamut over here is maybe not as natural, but it is closer to the way that it was filmed. Just keep that in mind. If you grab a Predator monitor, you want to find a setting where it's not already enhancing the image for you, so you can do all of your own post-processing. For example, if I came over here and I did auto on a base correction, you notice the massive difference you see. This one just got much brighter and on the right from Samsung, and the video almost stayed the same on the Predator. Let's reset that. It got a little bit brighter. You saw some of the highlights in the bottom left and right get darker. One more time. Yeah, you see the blacks down here, they get a little bit darker. Down here, they got a little bit darker, but it still looks very similar throughout here. Whereas on the right, you reset. I do my auto color correction, which I don't think is accurate, but it brightened everything up. So just imagine if you're doing that here and you're like, hey, I actually want to bring these blacks out. I'm gonna go a little bit higher. That's probably too high, but you go back here, it may look a little washed out on a different panel. So just keep that in mind. So here's what I think, you guys. You have a $399 Samsung curved monitor versus a $499 Acer Predator monitor. If you like a well-rounded monitor that saves you $100 and still performs almost identical to the Predator, you saw it in the videos, I saw the same thing. There was very, very tiny details that were different about these, and a lot of them came down to factory settings that you can play with on your own. If you want to save $100, I guarantee you this Samsung 240 Hz CRG5 is the way to go, hands down. If all you do is game and all you care about is the high depth in color and the HDR without the HDR experience, and you want to spend $100 more, go with the Predator. But that's not why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I saw this $399 240Hz gaming monitor from Samsung and wanted to test out whether or not their gaming monitor lineup has gained a few things, primarily being G-Sync, and does the 240Hz actually stack up to other similar monitors? Hands down it does. We saw it. You guys watched the same video I did and you saw the screen tearing was no different between the two panels. And they both offer G-Sync. So yeah, I'm gonna tell you right now, save $100, spend $399, get the Samsung monitor. If you don't want curved and you're more into gaming, then go with the Acer Predator. That's really all I have to say. Maybe you feel differently. Maybe you saw some big differences between the two monitors and you can tell me. Put it in the comments, say, hey, I actually noticed this between the two monitors. Maybe one outweighed the other massively in your opinion. Now I know because we're recording on a 1080 camera and we're doing 60 frames per second, it may not equate to the same exact thing you're gonna get in real life. I want you guys to see firsthand what the picture's like, whether it performs well in gaming, does it match the specs that Samsung says it matches, does it do what it says it's gonna do, and so far, yes, it checks all those boxes. I have not had to do anything other than play with the settings from the time I plugged this in to now. There's a link below. You guys can check this out, pick one up if you want, put your experience with either one of these monitors down below so I can comment. I love answering questions for you guys. You guys always ask me good questions. I even learn throughout the process because you'll ask something that I'll never experience. And then I get to learn from that experience. That's it out of me, you guys. You've watched enough of me. Thank you for sticking around this far. And as always, if you have made it this far in the video, definitely give it a like, share it with a friend. Subscribe to the channel. Your support is what allows us to keep doing this, and I do appreciate that. So definitely subscribe, and as always, I'll catch you in the next video. Have a good day, everybody.